welcome back to the RationalInvestor.com Broiler Chicken Show. Trade your trading plans, don't take too much risk on any one trade, and just let yourself get rich. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Broiler Chicken Show. Back. It is Sunday. It's the middle of the summer. I hope you're enjoying the nice weather. Maybe it's a little too nice for some people. I understand actually a big portion of our continent is actually under, I think the world is under extreme heat advisory. It's not so bad here in the Northwest, so I hope you guys are doing okay. Yeah, I see some of our locals, regulars over there on the YouTube page. Hello, all you. Yeah, we got maybe about a dozen or so people here right now, and we'll probably get people join us over time. So if anything, we'll spend the first 10-15 minutes just sort of chit-chatting a little bit, and we'll get right into the full-on rants shortly. Hope you guys are all enjoying the Bitcoin market. Actually, Chris and I spent some time putting together, and I'm just looking at the YouTube page, making sure I got everything all right here. Chris and I spent some time putting together today's newsletter, and actually I kind of liked how it felt. Chris, did you have that link? Did you send me the link to the newsletter so I can show it on the screen? Awesome. And actually, Chris and I had a really good meeting yesterday. I felt really positive coming out of it. I think, you're probably not going to like this too much, but, it's just got to be. I think what we're going to do is we're going to sort of scale back the after parties midweek, and we'll spend that time. Maybe, we have Monday, I like to do the after party, so it sort of cleans up a little bit of the excess, like if I maybe didn't answer all the questions that were posed on the Broiler Chicken Show. Gives me the opportunity to do that. As well, too, I do like to take Monday and do things like review the dashboard latest signals, just very tertiarily, what the algos and stuff are saying as well. So I think that's an efficient use of our time on Mondays. Tuesdays, of course, after party, we have the COT Report out of downtown Breda, center of the universe over there in the Netherlands. So I think that's really important. I think Wednesday, we're going to take the after party time, and Chris and I are going to really focus on doing like really detailed and really polished little shorts for YouTube and TikTok and stuff like that. I think there is a world of opportunity there, where quite literally we should be able to cover every single topic that we teach in the education program. And like there's 36 different modules. And we should be able to do like a 1-minute summary of every single topic that we teach. And, some of the modules, there's like 4 or 5 or 6 different applications of them, like volume profile and stuff. So we should be able to produce a really kick-ass little library of the little shorts as little teasers to get the public interested in participating at TRI. And also, too, hopefully what ends up happening is we actually, we'll call a tale, and, we'll try and actually explain how a lot of these concepts actually work correctly. And then maybe if we're lucky, it becomes some sort of, they actually go viral as, hey, this is actually how you're supposed to do this stuff. Anyway, we'll see how that goes. So we have that plan coming up. I don't really want to step on Julian's toes with his Thursday offering. I think he's doing a fantastic job, and he, every trader has a different approach, and Julian definitely has his own unique approach, and also, site members who enjoy his approach. I want you to get as much Julian as possible. So Tuesdays, you get a big whack of Sjord. And Thursday, you get a big whack at Julian, which I think is good. And then Fridays, like this past Friday, oh my goodness. The after party special that we had with Colin and Jedi. I'm not just. I think I was supposed to call him Mr. Jedi. I can't remember exactly, but anyway, Jedi. Crazy internet world. I suppose I got to think of some like one liner name for myself in the internet world. Although all I can think are derogatory words that pop up, and I'm just setting myself up for disaster. You guys are going to tear me a new one with that. But the report that Colin and Jedi gave us on Friday, I tell you, man, it was a hell of a treat. It was just next level. And if anything, it was the ultimate personification of how I wanted this whole sort of social media, YouTube video kind of thing to go. I've tried to do it a number of different ways, to some degree of success, then also to some degree of failure in the past, and I think we've hit a vein here with these Friday after party shows with special guests. I tell you, every single one of them, the audience is just like, oh my goodness, just absolutely incredible. So this past week, do yourself a favor, get your butt on the site. Hell, you can even do the 30-day trial, take advantage of us if you want. But I think anybody who's involved in the crypto space and it considers themselves actually serious about all this, you got to check out what Colin and Jedi and the conversation we had on Friday. It was just so sick. And actually, that's a name that I wouldn't mind digging into and actually buying. Is I think their big one that they liked. We talked about on Friday was that OP. I don't know whether Eddie, are you long that one? Did you go and buy a big whack of that one? I bet you Eddie's bought just about everything. Eddie's going to do just so well this cycle. Oh my God, it's weird when you get this intuition about people and you can just see that they're going to just, you have life-changing events. The interesting thing is Eddie could be like the president and CEO of the company that he works for. But I think we're going to turn him into a hedge fund manager, whether he likes it or not, sitting on top of the world. Anyway, yep. So Eddie says I bought 2 weeks ago on the W. Well, there's a big surprise. OTC Big B says this guy looks like Adolf supporter. Actually, I'm in my Munchen hat. Adolf, he was from Munchen, right? I think he was from Munich, Germany, if I'm not mistaken. And actually, I even went into some of the beer halls that he was famous for stirring up trouble back in the 1920s and his speeches. And I remember this one guy. It's weird. In Germany, they eat this white sausage, and they even eat it for breakfast. And this one guy, he must have been like 300 pounds. And I just watched him sit and just motor his way through these white sausages for his breakfast. And it was just like, wow, there's an image. Anyway, so I don't know whether that's a compliment or an insult, OTC Big B. But actually, I had a really, one of our recently graduating, he's in the level 4 program, turning into just a killer option spread trader. Lived down in Seattle. He came up and he visited me yesterday, and we had a really nice afternoon chatting in the park about everything under the sun. We had a fantastic conversation about how Adolf was actually put in power by the bankster class, and how, ironically enough, Lenin was actually put in power by the bankster class. So it's interesting how world history is so dominated by these silly banksters. Anyway, that's another conversation for another day. So I guess number one, site members. I think we're going to use that Wednesday after party time to work specifically on really like killer shorts. Really actually excited about the project. I think by the end of the summer, we should have just a whole bunch of them. And I would like to go on that YouTube and see those shorts and see them nice and production quality, because I think we could really kill it. And I think it should be something like, and maybe give me some feedback, put in the comments if you could. This would be a great opportunity for you guys to interact with us here. I'm liking sort of things like trading tips with Brian, right? These like 1 minute shorts, 45-second shorts. So trading tips with Brian, does that sound good? Or, trading tips with an old 30-year broker or veteran, 30 trading tips with TRI, 30 years of trading knowledge, shorts, something like that. Give me some feedback. And if you can think of a half decent name for these little shorts, that really pops, that would really grab people's attention. And then people, like, when they see them come up on YouTube and the shorts and TikTok and stuff like that, they go, "Oh, cool, these are awesome. Oh yeah, cool, he's got a new one out. Let's see what he's trying to teach us today." So something along those lines. Anyway, super excited about that. As well too, I mean, I can't stress enough. I've been talking to you guys about it forever. And really everybody should understand this. Eddie here, he's done exactly what he's supposed to do. And all of you should be exactly the same. I mean, do you want to get fucking rich? I mean, what's the point of all of this? Isn't the point of this for us to like do life-changing events and get, take, even maybe $1,000 or something like that and turn it into 100 G's, 500 G's, $1 million, whatever, and change your life forever. 2023, this is the time. This is the time to do this, folks. So quit being a looky-loo and quit stalling. Get your act together. Back last January, and actually last November, December, when Litecoin was trying to bottom, I was going on about, do you have your skirt together? And actually, we had one lady who joined the education program. I do fully understand, and actually even in our write-up here this week, we fully acknowledge that the central banksters are trying very hard to make our lives very difficult right now. And this is where, if anything, this is the difference between the ants and the grasshoppers. So I don't know whether you're familiar with that story or not, but the grasshopper goes out and has fun all through the summer and doesn't plan for the winter. The ant, of course, is saving money. They're saving acorns, saving whatever, sugar cubes. And then when the bad weather comes, of course, the grasshopper is freezing its ass off, and the ants, of course, are having a good old time. And just because the ants are such good people, PMA for the win, all that, they let the grasshopper in, and the grasshopper hopefully learns his lesson. But unfortunately, most people in this world are grasshoppers, and they don't learn the lesson, which is really tragic. But anyway, I would hope that all of you are ants. And what you saw happen last November, December, and I would imagine the exact same thing's going to happen this year as well, is you have to have all of your skirt together. Try and not swear so much on this YouTube video. And you got to have your plan together, and you got to understand what it is that you're actually doing. Like, why are you doing this? Clearly articulate why you're bothering to do all this. What do you want to get out of it? Then, of course, there are a million different ways to make money in the market. So it's not really like there's like you do my methodology or everything else is wrong. I used to have a grandmother who was like that, and sadly, she didn't really get that very far in life because she was so stubborn. I don't think that that's actually a good approach to life. Should be flexible, should be open-minded, should all, like I've told all of you guys repeatedly in the past, you are all, including myself, 30 bloody years into this, we are all students of the market. We are always learning. There's always new things to incorporate into our plans and into our thinking. And of course, the market itself is constantly evolving. And one setup, one methodology that works under one specific market state market state changes, and then that just stops working. And you have to be flexible and be adaptive enough to ride with the punches. In fact, actually, probably a really good analogy is my Twitter page. A lot of people that just first stumble upon me, this is sort of the pinned tweet that I have at the top of my page, because this was a fun challenge that I took back in like 2015 in that area, where I said, hey, like, because I knew that we were in a very specific market state. And I knew that there was a lot of money to be made coming up. Unfortunately, that similar market state doesn't really show itself until about 2000. I'm going to say 2035, somewhere in that area. So where are we? We're 2023. Is that what year it is right now? So so what that means is, we won't go into like this kind of insanity for 12 years. If anything, by that time, all my beard will be all gray and I will have no hair on that top of my head. I still got a bit of hair. It's not too bad. It's kind of greasy. That's why half the reason why I got my Munchin hat on. I love my Munchin hat. This is such good memories. In fact, actually, I even remember the guy that sort of put me up in Munchin, Frank. Never see him. I wonder what the hell happened to Frank. Anyway, he and I were in the beer hall and watching the guy eating the sausages, and just, wow, that's incredible. And Frank actually got us to eat brains. He even got interviewed for a local TV show, commenting about what he thought about the taste of brains. Anyway, so the point is that this was a very specific market state. And then I had somebody that actually came on the site, I don't know, maybe 6-8 months ago, maybe even a year ago. And of course, at that point, we were right at the top of the market. And frankly speaking, I have not done that much activity in the market. I certainly haven't done this kind of trading. And unfortunately, they got all angry at me, right? Wait, what's this? This is a total con job. He is turned 500 into 100,000, blah, blah, blah. You haven't done anything like that. And I have to say, you know what? You're right, because we're not in that market state right now. This is the market state to get your act together, get your plan together, get your capital together, learn about what a half decent buy in crypto looks like, whether that be fundamentals. There's plenty of people in this space that you can listen to about what's a good story going forward and what's a story. And, the best way I think that you want to approach crypto is just ask yourself, what problem would this crypto solve? Is there a problem that needs solving? I would argue half the reason why Bitcoin is what it is the problem in 2008 was that and I have to be somewhat politically correct the way I say this, because I can get myself into a lot of trouble if we say the wrong thing here. The system was taken full advantage of by the political party that was in power through the 2000 to 2008 period. The solution to the demographic problem in our society was just absolutely ridiculous money printing, which is a real shame, because in essence, it basically dilutes the standard of living of all of us living on the other side of that cycle. So the 1% knew that this was about to happen, and there's nothing you can do to stop them. This is like Eisenhower when he left office, and his bitching and complaining about the U.S. Military industrial complex, and how it's almost impossible to stop those guys. And if anything, I think those are the two factions. And actually, as I said yesterday afternoon with Francis, I had a really interesting conversation about all this. But if a guy like Eisenhower who's standing up on the podium saying there's nothing you can do to stop these people. What the hell is a silly little Canadian in a silly little Munchin hat going to say to make any difference in this world? But I think half of your job is that you just have to acknowledge what reality is. I mean, don't kid yourself. Don't, just bury your head in the sand. Just understand what is reality. And I think that's actually, Francis told me something yesterday. He's kind of like, I appreciate, you're pretty stressed about your wife and about your son and about, of course, substitute drama teachers are total idiots and stuff. But how are you going to best help the public? Is it of any benefit for Brian for you going off on some tangent and getting all angry and pissed off and stuff like that? Or, should we just acknowledge, well, this is reality now. How are we going to deal with this reality? And I might argue that that's what our whole school program is all about. Is what we're really trying to do is we're trying to empower you people. I hope you understand that. Because once you're empowered, then you don't really have to play by their rules anymore. How many doubles did you get off here this past 6 months? I think Eddie said he got something like 30 doubles off in the past 6 months. I mean, that's insane because he's now empowered. Eddie now can go make all the money he ever needs for the rest of his life. So he bought the Kool-Aid, he bought the punch. It'd be interesting if we ever get Eddie to the point where he's trading options and futures contracts. That would be freaky. Spread trading Eddie. So, but anyway, he's having lots of fun in crypto. And the point here is that what you got to do is you got to set yourself up. You got to have everything in place. And, through years like 23, and you should all know this. As soon as I say this, you should go, oh, yeah, Brian, I've heard you say this 20 times before. Mr. Benner and his cycle actually points out this very nicely. And of course, this blog is it's second to none. I've never seen any site with, keep in mind, this is all free, has this kind of research just at your fingertips. I mean, most people in the stock market, like stock market veterans, they don't even know this stuff. Anyway, here's Mr. Benner and his cycle. And of course, there is 2023. We need to be accumulating. And you got to get your act together. You got to get your plan together. You got to get your money together. You got to understand what it is that you're trying to do as an investor, i.e. buy low, sell high. When the public is crying, what should we be doing? Who knows how that goes? Spready Eddie. I like that. That's our new name for you, Ed. Spready Eddie. But he hasn't done spreads yet, so I don't think he understands spreads yet. It'd be interesting to get Eddie doing spread trades on crypto proxies in the stock market. That would be pretty fucking cool. Anyway. So what's Joshua saying? Does this skirt make butt look big? Got my skirt together. And does this make my skirt my skirt look big? That's cute. I like that. Okay. Well, what I would suggest you do, Gog, is come on the darn site and read the damn report. And you'll understand completely. So all right. I didn't really want to get down too much of a tangent, but you just need to understand that 23 is, and I've even put out tweets about it. I mean, I constantly go on about this stuff. I don't know whether I almost get the impression that people kind of tune me out because I just keep saying the same thing over and over and over again. But even just and I love how TRI, we actually have the engine is operating at full steam now. I won't go into detail about it, of course, because we do want you to subscribe. And keep in mind, you probably better lock your subscription in now because the price of this thing's going up. The algo itself is doing very, very well. Check out Julian's research and on the algo's performance, all the various different ones. But what I like to do at any given point in time is just pop on here. What are the top performing assets? This happens to be our crypto screener. We can also, of course, do this across the stock market. the big ETFs, if you are more stock market oriented than crypto, or if, you're just crypto, but, what are the performing sectors of the economy? What are the parts of the economy that you should avoid like the plague? Interesting how right now the US dollar is not that bullish. It's so fascinating. But also too things like European stocks, Canadian stocks, S&P 500 stocks. We used to follow Australia, but I haven't really heard too much demand out of the Australians for the information from the site of late. So we kind of put Australia on the back burner for now. If all you Aussies want Aussie stocks and Aussie information, then let us know. Anyway, as I said, this is a handy little tool here just to tell you who's driving the bus in crypto. And this makes sense. I mean, Cripple, of course, has been in the headlines here. And that was I think that was one of our focuses of the newsletter here today. I don't know what I did with it. And then also Link. And then Chris actually was very excited about the news. He heard out a Link, and we talked a little bit about this. How do I zoom in on this? Oh, there we go. So we talked a little bit about what's happening here with this ETHCC 2023 conference in France. So given the news that was coming out of some of these projects from that conference, it actually really shouldn't surprise us to see that things like Link are right up there. And what I did in the tweet, right, is I don't know how old you guys are. Do kids even do this anymore? I have no idea. But when I was a kid, we used to collect hockey cards, being in Canada, of course. Right? Down in the States, I think they collect like baseball cards kind of thing. And it would be, you just sit there, right, and compare with the other kids in your school and stuff. And you just go through their list and go, got it, got it, got it, need it, got it, need it, need it, got it, need it, got it, got it, need it, need it, got it, got it, got it, got it, need it, need it. Oh, I really need that one. Oh, I'll trade you this one. What do you really need? Like, that kind of thing, right? So anyway, even because I basically am this 2023, if anything, I am a man of my word. And in a weird sort of way, I take like personal integrity to almost an obsessive extreme. Your word to me is your bond, and if you ever break that word with me, if I ever find that you have lied to me, then all trust, poof, gone, and our relationship's over. So integrity is so critically important to me. So the point of the matter here is I'll even tell you exactly what I have and what I need in my portfolios. And I'm getting ready, right? So I've got the Cripple. In fact, actually both of these are sitting on doubles right now for me. And I know a lot of TRIers banged out some pretty big wins on those pops there on those guys. Link actually is ramping up nicely as well. And I still got some shopping to do. There's lots of names I still want to buy. So just do yourself a favor and try and accumulate as much as possible. And I love how the TRI engine can just simply tell you what is actually hot in the market right now. Also, too, interesting, we cover like our universe is so big. We actually cover like we'll get Cripple versus like Euro, Cripple versus yen, Cripple versus US dollar, Cripple versus for some reason the Turkish lira always seems to come up. I think it's called the Turkish lira, something Turkish currency. So it's interesting how in our universe quite often we'll have like if an issue is really strong, you'll see it reported here on a number of different fronts. SUI, I think that was a name. Wasn't that a name that that Colin was talking about on Friday? Can you guys remember? So it's interesting how that's sort of like number one on our crypto universe. And that was a name I seem to recall Colin was super excited about. Yeah, sounds familiar. Anyway, so, this is theoretically the sort of summer silly season for crypto. I just don't think that this is the year that you should be expecting face rips. This is the year where if you can bang out doubles, get yourself risk-free trades, then throw bids in right back at the bottom end of the range to reload and build like your number of cars for your car carrier. That's what 2023 is all about. But you have to force yourself to step in and actually buy, which is very difficult for the public, right? When they see a lot of these assets, in fact, probably I was even yesterday, I was out most of the day, but I came back later yesterday evening. And I mean, you can sort of see it, in the legacy stock market, right? What's the kind of stuff Brian wants to buy? Brian wants to buy stuff that's been knocked down in price. This thing hasn't quite bottomed yet, but I was more than happy to come in below value here and do some nibbling against the bottom end of ranges. I mean, that's a very typical trade for a guy like me. And then, and this is buying when they're crying. In fact, I think that was the headline that I had here. And then when they start bidding the prices back up and the public starts acting stupid again, I don't know how long that's going to take. Might take 6 months, might take a couple of years. I don't know. But when they do, I'll be more than happy to let them have halves on doubles and those kind of things. It's just what I do. So that's sort of like the stock market. But, even if we look at things like the crypto market, some really pretty names like this Horizon. What a pretty bot setup. I mean, just absolutely textbook. You don't have any idea. You just don't know in this world. And don't kid yourself. I hate how a lot of people are like, oh, yeah, that's 100% guaranteed. You're going to make money. As I tell you, as soon as you make a statement like that, the idea is not going to work. And then you're going to look like an idiot and somebody's going to actually sue you. Well, you said it was guaranteed, right? Nothing's guaranteed. The only thing guaranteed in this life, are death and taxes, right? But pretty setup. Oh my goodness. How many lows do I have to work with here to risk against if I have my stop down below this bottom of this range here? And I mean, you can see the price performance. Such a pretty chart, so clean. I saw that last night and I had to tweet it out. And I'm just like, I think the headline was setups are setting up. The newsletter here today, and another one that I tweeted out. And this one's going to piss me off because I did buy a little bit of this and I traded it, I think, off of this double bottom and I got stopped out. Boo, hiss, hiss, boo. Then I let it slip my mind and I didn't get back in on the last double, but I'm double bottom. But I might actually take this bot setup. It's so clean and it's so pretty. And it's very well defined. But it just goes to show, the setups are setting up. Now, whether you understand this image, you may not even understand why I would be excited about an image that looks like this. One thing I can absolutely guarantee you, though, is that, the FOMOers are not participating in the market right now. And I don't even really think the public is really that involved in crypto right now. When they are, that's usually the top of the market, and that's not when we want to be buying. So anyway, there's just a couple good examples of, the setups are coming in. I suppose if we went through name after name after name, you'd probably see tons and tons of different setups all setting up. I suppose the big purpose of this Sunday show, number one, originally did it to try and help any sort of overflow questions from the level 1 program. I don't know, Chris, do we have the AMA document handy? All right. I don't know whether we have had any questions asked, but by all means, we can circle around in there and check that out. Also, too, got into the habit recently of putting together this cute little newsletter. It's just a one-pager. Sort of summarizes what we sort of seeing in the market. And hopefully between this summary, what we're seeing in the market, and then answering any questions that might be lingering. We can always answer a question or two from the audience if you guys want to ask something. Hopefully you guys get some good value out of this. And, I can't stress enough. In fact, actually, probably our new school terms coming up. Everything that you see, I don't even know how this works. Let's see what happens. I go to therationalinvestor.com and go learn. I think is how I used to do it before. Anyway, yeah, here is our school program, sort of just basic description. I know we had another page that I like to use with the raffle, but I can't remember what the hell that is. You know what that page is off the top of my head, Chris? Can't remember. The page that yeah, it's something like that. Can you say that again? Sorry. What is this? Joint? Oh, interesting. All right, yeah, okay. So if anything, we probably should get this up and running. We'll have our new school term starting in about a month and a half. Right. Usually the Labor Day weekend, after the Labor Day weekend, we have our fall term coming up. And if you do actually join this, well, actually, I guess this is pay for it, but we do have a raffle. I'm not quite sure where the raffle is. We should probably get our act together around all this stuff. But you can join the raffle, and hell, we even give a seat away every term for a lucky student. So you can always come on this page as well. So maybe we'll even put this in here. If you are watching this and you've never heard of TRI before, you're like, who the hell are these guys? There is this nice overview of this is, oh, there it is. Enter the raffle to win a free spot. So you can click here. As well, too, this weekly newsletter. Remember, all this stuff is free. This weekly newsletter, I think, Chris, you put a link to this in the description of the Broiler Chicken Show, eh? If I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so you can actually come here and sign up for this, and it will just plunk you into the newsletter opt-in form, and you can get this in your email. And that way, if you happen to be like on the road or traveling or whatever, and you can't make a live Broiler Chicken Show, you've got this in your email when you come back, and you can just click on this, and it'll take you right to the show, and you can sit down and listen to the Beamish rant for an hour or two. So good quality stuff that's totally free. I mean, really awesome. Top right of the page is the raffle. Yeah, that's this right here, right? Yeah, right there. So, and then of course, frankly speaking, I still said this, and I've said this from day one. With this is way too fucking cheap. I mean, we got to raise these prices. This is it's ridiculous what we're giving this away to you for. So, having said that, I would strongly suggest you just lock this in. I mean, you see this hyperinflation world that we live in. I had somebody yesterday tell me the TRI education was the third best education that they had in their life. And they said that number one education, this was an American, of course, said that his being taught and instructed on self-defense and using firearms to the point where he's very comfortable, and he actually teaches other people how to use firearms appropriately and self-defense. He figured that that was the most important thing that he learned in his life. Number two was I can't remember what number two was. I think he's he's an engineer at Microsoft or Google or something like that. And then number three in his life was his TRI education. He values it that important that this is like literally life changing for him. So I was super pleased about that, hearing that. What I would just simply say is don't be shocked if you turn around one day and see that this is like $5,000, because I still think, and I've said this repeatedly, that we're just giving this away. So anyway, there's your sales pitch. And we've changed a lot of people's lives. I mean, if you want to see how many people's lives that we've changed, just go. And I mean, it's pretty cool to see all the people that are super happy about taking the program and what they've learned and stuff. And hey, I'm gonna, there's no point in bullshitting anybody here. It's not for everybody, but I've said repeatedly from day one, if you show me that you showed up for class, if you show me that you did all the assignments, if you show me that you have your trading plan and you followed the instructors the way they told you to build the trading plan, if you show me that you have your trade journal, and that you have been journaling and that you did the verbal diarrhea and that you do understand the type of person that you are and you've gone through the personality test to try and figure out whether trading's even appropriate for you or not. If you have a vetted trading log and you can show me that at least you've done 20 paper trades, but really ideally I'd like to see you do 100 paper trades, and it might take you 6-8 months to do that. If you can show me that you've done all of that, if you can show me that you wrote the final exam and that you actually put the time and effort to try and learn all the information, and at the end of all that, you say, I don't think I got my $1,000 worth. I've said since day one, I will give you a refund of your purchase. Had some people bitch and complain that they thought that they were going to come to TRI and I was just going to tell them, buy this, buy that, sell this, sell that. You're going to make tons of money. You don't have to work. And they're all bitching and complaining because I won't do that. Well, that's not part of the deal. The deal and the value that you get from coming to TRI is learning the process. That's the whole point of this school, is you are here to learn the process. So can you learn the process? I don't know whether you can, but like some guy was just bitching and complaining a month or so ago about, hey, Brian, I just followed you blindly and I took a couple of your shitty stock trades from the top of the market there and they went off the board and now I'm all fucking pissed off. And I was like, well, yeah, I mean, that's what happens in the markets, especially if you walk right into a Fed tightening cycle. And now, hopefully, all you learn that, it's not an accident that Bitcoin's halvening cycle actually corresponds nicely with that interest rate cycle and short-term interest rate money cycle. It's not an accident, folks. It really isn't. So I will, and frankly speaking, I actually tell people, I'm not going to tell you what to buy and sell. I don't care what you do with your money. It's your money. It's not my money. And I don't have any vested interest in whether you do well in the market or not. There's no kickbacks. There's no commissions on sales. There's no, shady back office dealings where we get a whole bunch of product and then we shill it to you at a higher price and all that. We don't do anything like that. We'll teach you the process. If you want to learn the process, I think this is definitely worth the money spent, no doubt about it. And I have that 100% money back guarantee. I've said it from day one, and I've yet to see anybody actually take me up on that guarantee. So if you buy the product, you do the work, you show me that you did the work, and at the end of it, you still want your money back, you don't think you got your money back, I will give you your money back. Absolutely. Anyway, all right, enough of all that. Okay, so what the hell happened in this past week? This was an interesting week in that it was actually relatively light econs. We're constantly getting more and more and more information from the market that China has been basically lying to us for the past 10, 15 years. Oh, what a surprise! Give me a fucking break. If anything, I'm almost shocked at how gullible we are in the West. That dickhead over there in Russia murdering probably a good 250,000, 500,000 people here recently. That's the way totalitarian dictators act. Don't be surprised if you mysteriously find, in fact, we don't even know how many fucking Uyghurs fucking Winnie the Pooh's actually murdered here over the past 5-10 years. That's all been pretty hush hush, eh? And don't be surprised. In fact, actually, as I said, this gentleman that I had a nice convo with yesterday, he figured that really there's only two solutions for China. Either number one, the whole thing implodes on itself. And then, unfortunately, what that means is a massive civil war, and probably something like a 500 million humans lose their lives over there. It could be damn ugly, just stunningly tragic. Or, and I get the impression that the world believes that Winnie's going to actually try and focus this energy outwards. And he's going to, he either can sit there and do nothing and watch his house of cards collapse from the inside, or he can lock everybody in their prison cells. Oh, maybe a nice little sickness to help things along, maybe. Lock people in their prison cells, and then all of a sudden, through like massive propaganda, deflect all that negative energy outwards. Well, it's all those cocksuckers over there in Taiwan. It's all their fault, right? The old Chinese nationalists. We never saw so finish this. So it's our duty to go and invade. And oh God, how many millions of people are going to be wiped out through that? So, I mean, that's the backdrop of the world that we're in right now. And I hope to God this world learns totalitarian dictatorships, they're horrible, and they always end the same way. Anyway, so we had this fugazi, for lack of a better word, past 20 years, Chinese housing bubble, just absolutely ridiculous, just gone way too far. And unfortunately, it spilled out. In my country, I think a lot of the money that was illegally or not, and the problem is how do you say illegal? Like it's graft and it's corruption. I'm sure it was all done perfectly legally, but a lot of that hot money that mysteriously found its way into Canada, where now single family homes are like $1 million. The only reason why that happens is because there's just a massive rush of demand coming in from overseas purchasers. There aren't enough Canadians to bid prices up. This is all due to foreign buying influence, and it's completely fucked our local economy. You might even argue it's fucked all of sort of the west coast of North America. Probably a lot of the silliness of the California, Oregon, Washington State real estate market is along the similar vein. But here in this country, because this country really sold its soul after Tiananmen Square. Actually, I learned just a week or so ago that there was a program where if you were in China through Tiananmen Square and you were able to get out, you could come to Canada, and as long as you invested $250,000 into the Canadian real estate market, and at the time, the house in particular, the gentleman that I was speaking to, he said his house was going for $87,000, and that was in the late 1980s. If you had $250,000, then you could come over to North America, and Canada would literally give you a passport. So basically, a lot of these people, I'm not going to say all, a lot of these people, and this gentleman I was talking to the other day, he figured that there was something in the neighborhood of about 300 to 400,000 people from Hong Kong, which really isn't that much. But 300 to 400,000 people took advantage of that and basically bought Canadian passports. So, these things are not isolated. This has been building for basically like 20 years. And interesting, somebody over there on YouTube says, I live in Hong Kong, and the price of property also went crazy there because of the mainlanders in mainland China. So, yeah. All right, so I guess just the point here is that we are finding out, literally on a regular basis, that a lot of the information coming out of China was actually completely fraudulent and it was a lie. Listen to Peter Zahn talk about how they lied about their population, and who knows what else they've lied about. I mean, we all know about the ghost cities and the just silliness of the bubble there. And I think one of their main real estate companies announced recently a loss of $81 billion. I mean, that's insane. How many fucking ghost cities could you build with $81 billion? I mean, like I said, we could sit here and get all angry and bitter and resentful, or we could say, buy Bitcoin. You know, you want your solution? Buy Bitcoin. You know, get the hell out of the system. It's all a fraud. It's all a lie. The banksters have cooked the books. They're all going to just add a zero. Great reset. Add, in fact, I think we're going to have to add a couple zeros onto the end of all the prices. Like I said, that house in Vancouver in the 1980s was $87,000, and the comps now, those houses are going for about $870,000, or basically add a zero onto the end of the price tag. That is Klaus's great reset. Get used to it, you little peasants. You have absolutely no input or control in the conversation. This is the way the Rothschilds run the world. Hey, party, party. Anyway, moving on. All I'm going to say is that Mr. Powell of late, I believe that all of the quantitative easing, all of that money printing was nothing more than to save the US banks who printed too many bonds. They were garbage bonds, they were bad bonds. And the Chinese government in 2008, 2009 said, hey, you either buy these bad bonds off of us or we're going to dump them in the marketplace and we're going to destroy your country. And so the Americans scrambled, and Ben Bernanke came out with this, oh, we're going to quantitative easing, which is just a load of horse shit. They just moved all those bad bonds over to another balance sheet, just fictitious, printed a whole bunch of money. And this is the inflation world that we're living in, right? Just as Mr. Friedman told us many times, and do yourself a favor, Google Milton Friedman. And what is inflation? It is nothing more than just the printing of money. The individual units of money that you use, they actually have some value. And there's X amount of them in the marketplace. If you substantially increase the number of units of money in the marketplace, then the prices of things in the marketplace will move up proportionately depending on how much money you printed. It's not rocket science. That's the worst part about all of this. This is not rocket science. But it's remarkable to listen to how, these brainwashed university professors try and explain this concept called inflation. Inflation is a fucking con job, people. Just watch Milton Friedman. You don't have to listen to the Beamish. Just watch Friedman. You'll understand exactly what's going on. It's not rocket science. It really isn't. But anyway, so the banksters had to deal with this bad bond issue. They dealt with it. They sat on the problem for as long as they possibly could. And what I think that is the baby boomers had to get to the point where they were fully into retirement, fully out of the economy. And frankly, they were, too senile, too sort of, I mean, you see the guy who's running the United States of America right now. Oh my goodness. I wouldn't be surprised if he actually has depends on, it wouldn't surprise me one bit. But anyway, get that generation to that age where they're kind of like fuddy-duddies, right? And then, okay, well, now we gotta set the books right. So now we're mysteriously going through quantitative tightening. And Jerry's now said, well, we're going to have to inflict a little bit of pain on your lives. And really all this is about is they've got to somehow try and stabilize the situation. And the sad part about all of this is that these young new generation of politicians, they actually bought into this bullshit about things like modern monetary theory. And I actually think that Jerry, to a certain degree, got suckered into this modern monetary theory where, well, money doesn't actually cost anything and governments can print as much money as they want. That's a load of horseshit. So we got through the crisis about the bad bonds. We got through the demographic transition. Baby boomers are now officially out of the economy. And now they're setting the stage for the next growth cycle. All the millennials heading into their adult life. And what does the Great Reset so that the banksters can continue this deficit spending world where governments are basically beholden to the banks. They're basically slaves to the banks because they always overpromise and underdeliver. And they have all these, well, what's that? Am I ranting too much here? I should probably keep moving on, eh? What do you? There you go. And of course, this is nothing new. All of you have heard me say this repeatedly over the years. You're just like, oh boy, here he goes again. All right. So, the data coming out now is actually showing that pain. And you're starting to see it in things like retail sales. I do believe that the Fakezi over there in China, in the balloon, has popped. And sadly, I actually think that the United States economy, believe it or not, is actually in the best position relative to the rest of the world. Any countries that were dependent on commodities and commodity price inflation to support their currencies and to support their underlying economics, they're in big trouble. So, what are the commodity countries of the world? Canada, Australia, Russia, South Africa. All of those countries are, I mean, you just go look out in the world. It's not a surprise what's going on. And I actually think that the US Federal Reserve is going to continue to raise rates until something actually breaks in earnest. And what I do find interesting is that most people in the public, especially social media and stuff like that, and the kids that are relatively new to this game, they're absolutely convinced that it's the United States that's actually going to break first. And frankly speaking, I don't think it is. And that's been my message. Actually, I would be a US dollar bull relative to all the other fiat currency nonsense. I would be much more bullish of a country like the United States than I would be for a country like Canada. Absolutely. And really, when in the 1980s, the commodity market broke in like 1986, I think it was. The floor fell out of the oil market. And I wouldn't be surprised if the same thing happens again here. They'll blame it, of course, on, global warming and all that nonsense. Well, we're greening the economy, but really it's just a very typical commodity cycle. So don't be shocked if someplace out in the world breaks before the US economy itself breaks. Having said that, because the US, is the economic engine of the world, and of course, a lot of the major media outlets are dominated by the US and US corporations, the attention is going to be focused on the US versus, say, like what's happening in Russia. Does anybody even know what the economic situation in Russia in reality is? Is it kind of convenient that Mr. Putin has created this, fog of war, centralized totalitarian dictatorship, where if somebody actually talks about what's the real economics going on here, off to the gulag you go, and don't you dare say boo. And I would imagine the same thing's happening in China as well. So, anyway, so our statement here, I think that this coming week is unfortunately all about this current Fed meeting. And what's really interesting is I actually get the impression that it's going to be sort of like a buy the rumor, oh my God, it's the end of the world coming, but then sell the news on the other side of the event. That's what happened last FOMC meeting, which is a little bit of a surprise. I don't know whether I have it on this screen here or not. Is that this? Anyway, I know on the Bitcoin charts, I love posting that. Oh, look at that. Getting a nice rally. Rally, pitcher's name Sally. So last FOMC event was interesting. We actually, for Bitcoin in particular, we actually had the market sell off into the event and then actually rally on the other side of the event, which is very different, right? A lot of these recent market moves, we actually had the market moving up into the FOMC event and then sort of like buy the rumor and then sell the news. Buy the rumor, sell the news. So interesting enough, I think we've actually had a bit of I don't know what the term is. Sea change, sentiment change, shift. I don't know what the hell you call it. But I think what's happening here now is we're actually getting a sell the rumor, buy the news kind of environment. I don't know. Maybe we're gonna ramp up here. Still think there's a bit of a diamond pattern. We'll get to that in a few minutes. But especially if we look at something like the US dollar index, we were right on our knees there about a week or so ago. And then all of a sudden, this rally just appeared out of nowhere. And then we also saw things like tech stocks, Meta in particular. Hats off to one of our site OGs, Adam, who pointed out this absolutely incredible options trade. And this is one of the concepts that we teach in our options courses. I don't really like talking too much in the public about options because they're very, very dangerous. But our veterans, I trust that they can handle themselves and their behavior. This is what I would call a panic accumulator. This is the 310 put option that expires in August. Somebody came in and bought 31,000 options. Oh boy, that is a lot of options. That's basically 3.1 million shares. Strike price on this thing, like we said, was $3.10, and they paid $16 for it. And you can even see here with this expiry on Friday, this stock went out at 290, 292, 293. So already this option has intrinsic value of $18, just intrinsic value alone. Keep in mind, there's probably also some time value. I mean, let's just go see where that option is sitting right now. So this is a really good lesson in how crooked the stock market is. And it's stunningly crooked. That's the one thing I've probably learned over this my career. I mean, look at that beautiful top. Boom. What this is basically saying is that somebody knew, well ahead of time what was going on here. I mean, buying like literally options on 3 million shares to sell them at 310. And I'd just be curious. Let's see where that option is sitting now. So the August expiry, that's that one there. 310 put is sitting at $25. See that right there? $25. So whoever went and bought this option at $16, you think they're feeling pretty good right now? Maybe, maybe, slightly. I don't know. I would say more importantly, though, I don't know. Has anybody ever talked to you about counter trend rallies into 61.8 to 78.6 fib levels? I don't know. If you were bearish and you wanted to join this bear slide, where do you wait for it? Well, reload zones. Why do we call it a reload? Because somebody shorted, then of course the public gets all bearish, so they buy the positions back down at the bottom, but they want to be short, so they wait for the market to counter trend rally back into the reload zone, right? They're going to reload on shorts. And that's exactly what this image is. And the interesting thing about this trade, of course, is that they don't have the SEC. Who the fuck is that? We don't give a shit about you stupid baldy SEC doofuses. This is an option. They don't care about Securities and Exchange Commission. That's the stock market. This is the derivatives market. They don't have to report jack shit. So, I mean, it's just stunning how cliche all this really is. And already this option, and that this is just on today. Be interesting to see if you pulled up that option because I think the stock actually rallied a little bit off of its lows. Yeah, a bit. Could that option have been actually at $30 where the guy who bought it at 16 actually got a double off? Maybe. I don't think so. But I bet you're pretty damn close. And actually, that's interesting because look, you see, even now, there's only 16,000 in open interest. And yet we know that somebody went and bought 30, based on Adam's findings here, somebody went and bought 31,000 of these damn things. So they've already exercised and sold their stock up top here. So I actually think they used this option to actually go and exit out of stock and not have to report it to the SEC. They don't have to report. That's like 3 million shares of this Meta at what, $300 a share? We're talking some serious money there, right? And they don't have to report it to anybody because it's all done through the derivatives market. Not an accident whatsoever. So I think there was a lot of that going on here in the marketplace. And I think what's ending up happening right now is there's a lot of position squaring heading into this July FOMC event here. And of course, as we said, Jerry here has all along been saying, I want to inflict more pain on you. And frankly speaking, folks, I don't think we're anywhere near the end of this pain event window. Like I said, something's going to have to break and it's going to have to be big. And it's usually the rule is the Fed goes too far for too long, does too much. And guys like Stanley Druckenmiller, they make a living out of this shit. So my hunch is, and what a coincidence. Along with that, what you saw in that Facebook, which to me looks like that was completely pre-planned. I heard that like Nvidia, turns out that they were bidding up the stock, expecting, and actually that's probably a news headline that we should have had in the newsletter that we forgot to mention here, Chris. But Nvidia, of course, has been on an absolute tear. No sell signals anywhere. I don't say there was an M that tried to come in there, but it never did confirm. No M here, but boom, all of a sudden now we have an M. And that M happened because it turns out that Nvidia actually isn't making nearly as much money as they thought they were going to be making. Oh, what a surprise. So wouldn't be surprised if you actually see this thing come back down to earth a little bit as well. So just be prepared, folks. All right, so I think what's happening here is you're getting a bunch of position squaring ahead of into the Fed. You could make the argument that the US dollar index rallying in itself is a bit of a risk off bet. And I think that's what's happening. Now, the interesting thing, like I said, Nvidia coming off, Facebook coming off, a lot of this sort of high flyers like the NASDAQ itself kind of calming down here a little bit. Is this maybe just relieving a little bit of the overbought condition in the market? And, once we're on the other side of the Fed, get ready. We might get another big whack of all this euphoria coming into the market. You can see how the 13 EMA has acted really nicely as support the whole way up here. And lo and behold, here we are back at the 13 EMA. And actually, I even put out tweets recently saying, if you ever do see the price of this asset substantially above these moving averages, we're probably due for some sort of pullback. So you can see how it happened here. We're a million miles away from the 13 EMA. Well, we got to go sideways for a week or two to bring it back. Well, big rally up, a million miles away. Need a pullback to bring it back, right? Keep in mind, this is a daily price chart. So we had another big rally up, and all they've done here is they've just brought the market back into support. I wouldn't be surprised that, over this week, right, we know that the FOMC meeting off of this chart is actually like right there. So over this period here, now they brought the market back into support. Maybe they fill these gaps in here. Then we get the FOMC, and then we actually get into sort of summer silly season. So not only are you seeing these things in things like tech, but I actually think you're also seeing it in Bitcoin as well. So, we had last week's price action was a shooting star. When this was right up at the top there, and you look at these are weekly moving averages. You can see when price gets too far away from these moving averages, it kind of has to get sucked back to them. Did we get a little too far there a week or so ago? I don't know. That's a tough one. On the daily charts, it sure did look like we got a little too far. But in essence, shooting star was created here. I think they're going through the process of trying to clean up the market a little bit, a little bit too far, too fast. And I might argue right now, resistance in the short term is going to obviously be this shooting star wick, where there's probably a whole bunch of people that did FOMO buy up in here. They're probably going to want to get out. Oh my God, that was such a stupid move. Okay, just, market rally back up here and let me get out. That kind of thing. But also, too, the shooting star in itself, unless we take out this high, it does paint a price objective. That's what these arrows are, which is right down in here. And all this would be is just the market moving back to trend line support, and of course all our moving averages if we maybe just came down and just swam around in here for a bit. Well, it wouldn't surprise me at all. Creating a little bit of a hammer bottom here right now. And if anything, maybe top of the wicks, that's going to be the top end of your range, and maybe our hammer low against these lows is the bottom end of your range right now. I will say though, and when we look at the daily chart, you see it a little bit more detail. This is a pretty solid, shooting star candle that if just left to its own devices, it should resolve bearishly, and we should go down the equal distance of this wick here below the shooting star, and it's just a continuation pattern. When we look at the daily charts, this shooting star actually is a railroad tracks. Straight up, beep, closed, straight back down, lost the lows. So on the daily chart, it's the same logic. The sell signal on the railroad tracks just simply comes in on a move through that low. And your stop has to be just one tick above the railroad tracks high. It'd be interesting to do like a statistical study of how often railroad tracks produce continuation trades. And just think of it this way. This is basically a trading range. And that shooting star kind of concept is just simply saying that, where are we here? Let me just do like an arrow or something. That is a range. And if we lose this range, then we should basically replicate that range to the downside. So that's in essence the same thing. And also too, look at the profile, right? If I was doing those muocs from years ago, if you're easily offended by sexual references, I'm sorry, I'm a male and I have a bad habit of doing this. But just try and think of if you ever see the profile looks like this. And, there's a lot of real bullish enthusiasm here. A lot of real bullish enthusiasm here. And, of course, use your imagination. And I suppose, Arnold Schwarzenegger, he probably also has a chest that looks like that. So maybe it's not just females. I suppose the males, their chests could look like that too. And I'd be curious. I think that the girls, they get kind of excited, we'll say, if they see big muscle men flex their pecs, right? And flex their boobs. Anyway, point of the matter here is we used to have a guy on the site years ago, and in Spanish, this is the word that we would use to describe that. In Spanish, that stands for kiss. So ideally, this profile, believe it or not, it actually wants to look like a parabola. So it actually wants to look like that. Could we spend some time coming back and spending some time and effort trading all in here to fill that in so it looks like a parabola? It's actually what normally happens in the market. No guarantees in any of this stuff, of course, but that's what usually happens. So anyway, point of the matter here is you can kind of see that the profile is kind of missing some action in here. And if we did see this price come down into this area, maybe some sort of panic dump against this trend line, moving average support right in there, that would basically fill all of that in. So I would say too, though, looking at this image, and if we go back to the weekly chart, remember we said there's a whole bunch of trap bulls up in this wick here. And then also too, notice that we've got all these wicks as well. So every time we sort of rally up into here, there are FOMOers that are buying this up here. And it seems like every candle they get trapped. Oh boy, there's a bunch of bulls trapped in here. Market rallied up. It let these guys out, but then it backed off. Well, a bunch of bulls trapped there. Same thing. Market rallied up. It released all these guys, but then it trapped a whole bunch of new bulls. And same thing with this candle. There's a bunch of trapped bulls up in here. And another way for you to think about this is kind of look at this like this is almost like think of this as like almost like a head and shoulders. So these are shoulders. This is the head, and this would be a shoulder over here. Maybe you've heard from me in the past, I don't know, candle body highs for trade location. If I really wanted to short this thing and take a shot at this being an actual top, that level right there, that closing bar there on the daily charts on the Bitcoin stamp, that's 31,471. That would be just a killer trade location. And notice how that's going to be. Like if this is that head and shoulders top, then notice how that would be basically right into these wicks here. And an absolutely perfect trade location if this is a head and shoulders top. You'd also make the argument too that to all intents and purposes, this could be interpreted as a diamond pattern, which would mean that, there's got to be some sort of revisit of these highs here to fill out the diamond. That's what these angles are here. So you see the arrow that I have on here. I actually like the idea of the market rallying into that level through this sort of pre-Fed event. But the issue with that is that was very different than what happened last FOMC event. And I'm curious, this is sort of student of the market kind of conversation. I would expect some sort of pivot around this FOMC event, and it might just be something like this, or maybe we have a quick snap back down and then a resumption of the move back up. Something along those lines, which would actually complete our nice little diamond pattern nicely here. So the point that I'm trying to make here is that this week, I think, is going to be completely dominated by this Fed event. And I don't know whether it makes a lot of sense placing a lot of big bets and a lot of big expectations around market action heading into this event. We probably need to let this get out of the way and then decide where we think the market's going to go following. And as this chart illustrates, I actually think that it's basically a coin toss. We could very easily put in a nice W and up we go into the next upside objective. There's nothing really outlandish about that kind of thinking. And really, if this was an inverted head and shoulders on the weekly charts all along, then we really should trade up to the top of the parking garage. That's the whole point of this parking garage concept, is that this is a trading range. We broke above that range, and all we're going to do is we're just going to replicate this range up here as the market stair steps its way higher. This is so typical. It's shockingly cliche. So as I just said there a moment ago, we're stuck in a little bit of a range right now, but when we get resolution of this, and we still have quite a bit of the summer to go, I would not be shocked one bit. Keep in mind, the weekly moving average relationship, you can see, I should be, according to Weekly Commodity Trend Survey, I should be a bull as long as these two moving averages are pointing bullishly here, right? The red and the teal moving average. You can see there's red there, there's teal there. That's still pointed bullishly. Nothing has really changed here at all. It's just the problem is that this is a really shitty trade location. Coming in here, like if you inherited $5,000 from Uncle Louie, he just died, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna go buy Bitcoin here. I'm gonna make my big play into Bitcoin here at $30,000 Bitcoin. I would say it's like literally a coin toss whether we rally up higher and you look like a genius. And keep in mind the upside, here is the first stop target off of the all-time highs. We know what an incredibly important level that 38.2 is. So I don't think you got a hell. And then of course there's the 200%, the inverted head and shoulders price objective. We've been talking about these price objectives literally since the winter. This was the whole, do you have your skirt together? Have you got your plan together? Because we are expecting into the summer and in the spring, we're probably going to see the market get bid up. So, but the problem here is, what do you expect following that? Usually the market starts petering out once we get up into, in fact, actually, this is Colin's dump chaser zone, right? Where 38.2 up to 50% of the entire range. If this was actually really still a bear, this is actually where bears might step in. So they're not going to step in down here. They're going to wait for Colin and his dump chasers in their zone. So, I mean, you inherited $5,000 from Uncle Louie and you're thinking about going and buying Bitcoin there? Oof. So maybe you have like upside objective, and really, actually the best way to do this is boom. All right, we bought that. Maybe you can get a nice little pop up into here, but at the same time too, sadly, Brian, where would you be willing to buy Bitcoin? I'm willing to buy Bitcoins down in the reload zone. So you can see that this, it's a coin toss. Do we head back down into reload zones? Wicks and tails like to be eaten. Reload zones and all that kind of fun talk, which is where I could justify stepping in and starting to buy Bitcoins. Or do you take a shot here and just fingers crossed, hope we get a pop up top? That's about a 1-to-1 risk reward kind of idea. I don't like taking those kind of bets. I like the odds being in my favor. So I would say that, if Uncle Louie handed you that money, just leave it in the bank, or, maybe put it into a CD or something, or a term deposit, so that it's not going to disappear. You're not going to get like, I suppose you could probably move it to like a brokerage house and put it into like actually like a strip coupon bond or something, so that at maturity you're going to get that money back. Versus like the banks just stealing your cash out of your account. Regardless, I find it very difficult to believe that the odds of Bitcoin not going down are not substantial. In fact, as you can see from this harmonic, I am actually expecting the price of Bitcoin to come down here quite a bit. And at, let's say less than 20,000. We've got our buddy, if you watched the Wednesday show that we do with Coinigy, we have one gentleman who's a site OG who gets his chickens to run on treadmills to power his miners out in the bush. And it turns out those chickens are demanding $15,000 to mine a Bitcoin right now. Funny joke. But I've seen other people in the space promote the fact that their cost of production is underneath $10,000. All I would simply say is let's maybe do the average, right? 10,000 for industry players, which this person doesn't believe. His cost of mining is about 15, somewhere in that neighborhood. Let's split the difference and say 12 and a half. All right, well, get your bids working. Notice that 12.5 would actually imply that this fall, they could very easily bring price of Bitcoin right back down against these lows. And we would still actually be above that 12,500. Bitcoin doesn't really care. And do you think that they would do this? Well, this is exactly the same damn thing that happened last cycle. And this is what I'm worried about is I actually think that we're basically right here. That through the end of the summer, there might be one more push higher. And you notice, big ass fucking shooting star. Yeah, you might have been a rock star and been able to hit that level, but 9 investors out of 10 could not move that fast and liquidate. And maybe they ended up selling somewhere, an average price in here, which is, interesting enough, probably right around 50% of the entire range, which is fine because that's actually the target that I suggest people use. If they're going to buy down here, use the 50% level as your profit objective. There's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. If we use that same logic here, that 50% level is sitting up at 42. Maybe we get some sort of crazy ass spike. I don't think so, but maybe. I mean, like I said, don't go into the business of predicting the future because you just don't know what the hell's going to happen. But a nice little spike into this teal box here would make perfect sense to me. But at the same time, too, they're probably going to have a lot of the public starting to pay attention to Bitcoin here and actually come in and buy there, which I don't think is a good idea. And then following that event, this is what I think needs to happen next. I don't know where our top is. We clearly rallied off of the lows. It's been a very enjoyable time. We had the normal seasonal pullback that we do usually. Notice, look at that. That's May. What a surprise. Don't buy Bitcoins around Brian's birthday. I hope you all learned that lesson. But notice what happened here like 6 months following that event. And this is what I think needs to happen like through the maybe even the late fall and into the end of the year, something like that, October, November, somewhere in there. So, this pullback here would be your buying window that I think is going to happen here. And that's, again, that's Brian's opinion. And if we do get that, oh my God, that's an absolute gift of a buying opportunity. So that's what I'm sort of thinking going forward here. So, yeah, how much time do we, what time is it? Jesus Christ, that time goes quick, eh? Anyway, so as you can see from arrows, if we do get a nice counter trend rally, you can see where I'm sort of thinking this market should come back to. And then let's take that one step further. Why don't we drill in on this price action and see if these levels kind of line up? So we talked about candle body highs for trade location and these arrows as maybe potential head and shoulders. So we already have two sort of confluence kind of ideas. Let's maybe sync them to all the charts in this particular deck. And let's go down to like a 4-hour chart and see if those numbers happen to line up with anything. So now we're down to our 4-hour chart, and lo and behold, this is now. I don't really want to get any lower time frames with you guys on social media and stuff. Of course, I'm going to head off and I'll spend the afternoon with Liam. If we start looking at like half-hour charts, yes, we can start talking about trade setups, but they might be gone by the time I get back from Liam. So I don't think that's really in your best interest. So we'll leave it at sort of 4-hour analysis. This is for the purposes of talking publicly. I like this as sort of your sort of lower time frame perspective. So with that said, here is the pump chaser zone, Colin and his buddies, 38.2, 50% of this rally, this BlackRock Capital rally move. As well, too, this is sort of your kind of diamondy price action. I suppose you could argue that should probably be up like that, but nonetheless, you get the idea. And do we replicate that? Then remember I said candle body highs for trade location, and then I drew those arrows. So that's basically right up in this area. And what I've told you guys for quite a while now is I actually think the predominant trend line, and it's a tricky one that most people in the public never see, is this is a low. You can see I'm drawing this off of that key pivot low to this key pivot high. So that's a swing low to a swing high trend line. Yes, this is taught in our education program. This is the kind of stuff that you don't learn anywhere else. Nobody else teaches this shit. But you tell me, is the market kind of respecting that line? Look how we dumped into here. Look how we dumped into the line here and then jackknifed away and then dumped into here. Why didn't we just keep going? Look how we dumped into that line there. So, I mean, like 1, 2, 3, 4. Look how we just like oscillated along this line here. If somebody was looking at price action here going, why on earth is price doing that? If they understood this low to high trend line concept, they go, well, it looks pretty obvious that the market's just oscillating around this level. So that's what I think is actually support and resistance on price right now, is this funny looking low, high to low trend line. I moved away from it, came right back to it, rallied, sold off away from it. What do you think the odds are that we're going to rally back up and kiss this from the underside? And then notice, here's FOMC. Here's our reload zone. There's those arrows for, crazy ass head and shoulders top and awesome candle body close, highs and lows or trade location. Notice that that's just a little hair just above that 78.6, probably even like 88.6 level. So I do like the idea of the market rallying up into that window up there if we get ahead of steam. Now, I really doubt that we can get too much beyond that. Where the hell is that 88.6? Where the hell did I have it on here? That's a bummer. Let's do over here. 0.886. And then maybe let's go like orange or something. All right. Aha. Oh, look at that. Look how 88.6 lines up perfectly off of Foggenbaum there. So this is such a great analogy of Foggenbaum and chaos theory. Because you can see a W has come in here. I was actually thinking, as you can see, getting ready for this report, this W had not fired. And I was thinking, oh, geez, are they setting up another bearish bot? And remember, I told you on the weekly chart, all these moving averages and these trend lines, support down there is right around that 28.5, we'll call it, somewhere in that area. And then notice that this price objective here is 28.01, and there is that reference, 13 EMA on the weekly chart. So if we were going to break down into weekly support, also too, that was basically 50% of Collins, BlackRock Capital's rally low off the lows. Also keep in mind too, this is a V bottom. V bottoms, that needs to be tested. So that in itself is a little bothersome that was a V bottom. That is not a sustainable low over time. So anyway, the point that I would just make here is it looks like we're pointing lower here. But, all of a sudden in comes a W. And the W, I mean, I wouldn't fault you if you're like, well, Brian, I just trade and I love W. So I'm just going to buy this level. I'll risk to a break of these lows. And I want to shoot for like 2-to-1 risk reward. So that would be something like, say, we bought on a stop right there. We're going to risk to a break of that low. This isn't a trade that I would do, but just hypotheticalizing. And let's shoot for maybe a return back to the trend line that I think is actually predominant. 1.6-to-1 risk reward, that's not enough to get a guy like me excited. I suppose you could shoot for a rally up into reload zones, a rally up into those noted arrows. That's not, again, my style. Remember I told you all earlier, I would prefer to use something like a return to the mean, which would be just like a 50% retracement of this range as my price objective. Maybe what that means is if we are nice and patient and disciplined, you get like a really tight little W that forms down in here, and then you frame the risk off of this W, shooting for that move back up to the trend line, which probably is better than 2-to-1. So that's not a trade for me. But having said that, it's encouraging that, hey, at least we're putting in higher highs and higher lows here, as opposed to just relentless lower highs and lower lows. You can kind of see that the rally, interestingly enough, remember this line was the daily candle body close level. Yeah, interesting. This is the 4-hour candle body close level. I tell you, I mean, you can really learn a lot from these videos, even just in real time. All the concepts that I teach, they're stunningly similar based off of different time frames. The world, the universe is a fractal. So the same concepts that we teach you off of weekly charts are exactly applicable to like 10-minute charts, 5-minute charts, even tick charts. So anyway, uh, not a big surprise on initial blush. We actually had a failure against that candle body high level. And you could probably also say, again, this is getting into like 30-minute charts and stuff, which I don't really want to do with you guys. But also notice too, that was a reload zone short failure there. So what I would simply say is based off of this chart, clearly now, if we actually go and M out and we don't make a higher high here, that'll be one high, two highs. If we make a third high and then fail, then the bot is fully alive. And that means going short from off the 4-hour charts from about 29.8, let's call it 30,000, somewhere in that neighborhood, and shooting for 28 even. If, however, we can go take this high out, then I like these fogging bombs. And initial stop will be a tag of this trend line from the underside. We call it like a kiss. Should probably do something like that. And if we can accept 2.618, the initial fogging bomb level, and put some sort of bottom in, then next stop should be up into 4669s, which is that original level that we talked about that I really do think needs to be traded to. I'd be really surprised. That was this image. I would be really surprised, and this is just me personally, just talking to you, like what's my opinion. I would be really surprised if this didn't fill in over here. You can see how well defined this price action is. It would be really surprising if we just went straight down here. Now, I suppose the good thing for the bulls is if we don't counter trend rally up top here and then fail, if we just go straight down here, what did I say about V bottoms? V bottoms, this is not sustainable over time. You can even see what I wrote here, right? Nothing changes with whatever. V bottom will need to be tested down the road. Well, same things here. If that remains as a V top, then absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, there will be some sort of counter trend rally down the road to at least test this area up here. Is it actually really the top? So in a weird sort of way, the way I would describe this price action right at the moment is I would actually call this, if I'm not mistaken, well, actually it's a little bit outside, but notice how the 30 SMA actually is acting as killer resistance here. See that? Boom, rejected. Boom, rejected. This is one main reason why I really like following the 38 SMA. It works really well in that regard. So 13 EMA now, sadly, unfortunately, it's now acting as resistance as well. I was kind of thinking that we were in a moving average sandwich. I think maybe off of the lower time frame we are. So if I go moving averages, boom, oh, this is an interesting one. So you can see 13 EMA, 30 SMA. You can see that this trend has been pointing down based on these moving averages for quite a while, and they're trying desperately to turn back up. But look who came along and stopped that bull in its tracks. Again, this is the one main reason why I really like using these particular moving averages is what I find is off like the 4-hour chart, the 200 SMA is going to be very, very similar to the daily chart's 30 SMA. Super cool. So somebody says a bunch of bull divs. There was a shitload of bear divs up top there. So if anything, I love this indicator. Remember, we want location, indicator confirmation, price structure, go. So I don't see any bull divs here off of things like the daily charts yet. I just don't see them. Lots and lots of warnings from the div indicator that this was not sustainable. If we go back to that 4-hour chart, just, somebody mentioned it there. Oh, look at that. That's turning into a shooting star now, sons of bitches. So interesting how we're getting rejected. Now, in the short term, you can see that these two moving averages are going to act as killer support here. So I actually think what's going to end up happening here, it's just my opinion, is that we're in a moving average sandwich right now. We're probably going to be in there for a while. So also too, remember we got FOMC coming up. Hell, I wouldn't even be surprised if they just even have parked this thing and they do something like that. And then on the other side of FOMC, we actually see the real market. So as it stands right now, I actually don't have anything to do on Bitcoin. I would just leave this alone. Let's get on to the other side of FOMC, and then we'll start making decisions. Has this diamond pattern actually confirmed? And we need to actually be thinking down in earnest, which I really don't think is going to happen, but who knows? That would imply that this shooting star has probably turned into, because keep in mind, this could very easily be a nasty head and shoulders that's forming here. And if that's the case, the neckline is all the way down here. So if we are going to fail on those 4-hour charts and those daily charts, and it turns out this is a diamond up top here, and the shooting star was the top, and the railroad tracks was the top, then that means we're probably going to have to come back to 38.2s, 200 SMA on the weekly price chart here. Actually, excuse me, 30 SMA on the weekly price chart here, lines well up with this trend line, all that kind of support. And that's down, like I said, that's actually down around 25 and change. But let's cross that bridge when we come to it. We're not anywhere near having that kind of conversation yet. Right now, we're still just trying to figure out whether this thing's actually a diamond top and this thing's actually topped out yet. So there's your Bitcoin summary. And I really do not like this. So like for investors, no, do not like this at all. If you fancy yourself a trader, all right, we're on lower time frames, trade your setups. Don't be too egotistical, just roll with the punches. But I still think that we're probably in our best interest to get on the other side of the Fed and then just go with whatever the market gives you on the other side of the Fed. Now, just sort of a follow-up to that, every Fed meeting, we have a really fun TRI hangout, and we sit and throw all the charts up on the screen. We do it as a public offering on YouTube. So we sit and talk a little bit about what Powell says, some of the questions, how many of the girls in the audience want to have his baby, some of the boys want to have his baby. Not so much these days, though. You can totally tell. Not many chair pals. Not many of those these days. Anyway, so be sure to tune in for that because it'll be a really interesting conversation. We'll finish off today, and I didn't really. Were there any questions? Did any of the students have any questions today? Didn't even. All right, cool. So I don't have to worry too much about that. And that just means that Grim's doing an awesome job. We did talk about commitments to traders there. And I hate to say it, folks. You want a glorious Technicolor example of what a commitments to traders report that is bearish of Bitcoin looks like? Take a screenshot of that. We know that the commercials, they're the smart money. They're the ones that always get the trend right eventually, and they always want to be on the opposite side of the market. So right now you can see the commercials are heavily long to the tune of about 3-1 over the shorts. So which direction does the smart money think Bitcoin is going? Don't fight this with me, people. But I do want to, we got 40 people watching this video. Hit the like button, subscribe, ring Colleen's bell. I hope the algorithm, any and all support is greatly appreciated. But come on, I want to see you answer this. This is what we teach in our education program. I was a licensed commodities broker for many years. I was a licensed options broker. I did all this kind of stuff every single day of my career. Let's see. Come on, you people. Don't fight me. Especially any of you that have taken the education program. You know what this is telling us. Come on, you YouTubers. Look at that. A couple people actually just bailed. After I look at that. They're dropping like flies. Oh God. Did he just say that? Oh, this I want you to work. So, well, that's just it, right? I mean, what was 2023 supposed to be? Let's see if you guys can answer that question, because clearly you guys, hey, I got 2 people who actually responded to me over there on YouTube. 30, 40 people watching and only 2 people responded. That's not a good sign. Accumulation. So if it's an accumulation year, do you want higher prices or do you want lower prices? Thank you, Amrosi10. If it's an accumulation year and you want to buy, I mean, no offense, but I don't want to pay higher prices. I want to pay lower prices. Yeah. So I wouldn't fight this message, folks. And the interesting thing is, these guys over here, they are called the institutional players, and they facilitate the trade for the commercials. So by definition, the institutions are pretty much guaranteed to make money. Commercials want to be on the exact opposite side of the trade. That's by definition what they want. They are hedgers. They are right. And the large institutions, they by definition have no choice but to make money. So the large institutions do the trade for the commercials. And how are the large institutions positioned right now? Are they net long or net short? This is as of July 3rd. It'd be interesting to see what the most recent report says. I don't think there's a hell of a lot of change, but let's see. Probably worse. And I think I said earlier, like we actually spend like 3 weeks in our level 2 program teaching you guys about the futures industry. So this is all covered in detail in our education program. Bitcoin, there we go. Oh, interesting. Oh, okay. So they're still net long. They aren't as long as they were before. So good that you guys mentioned that. And these, they're still net. They are, well, no, they're net short. Oh, isn't that interesting? So large institutions still net short, not as much as before. So that's interesting. Let's go look at the micro. Same thing, still net short out of these guys. And whoa, boy, all short, or excuse me, all long, no shorts at all coming out of the commercials. Uh-oh. So actually, the good part about this report is not as bad as previously reported, but still giving the same message. So if anything, not as heavily bearish. I mean, they were really bearish here. July 3rd weekend, and if anything, that makes sense too, because that whole BlackRock thing kind of caught the market off guard. I was actually expecting the pivot to come in around through that July 4th weekend. So I get the impression that the commercials to a certain degree were actually caught sleeping a little bit. Remember, I went on vacation through that week and they cleaned up quite a bit of their shorts, their short hedging, long positions, following that BlackRock news. So that's valuable information. So I'm glad whoever there on YouTube asked me to take a look at the current report. Now, this is as of the 18th. Keep in mind that was last Tuesday. On Tuesday, we will have another report. So, if anything, whoever asked for us to look at this, maybe let's pull up through the Pennacook report. Let's on Tuesday circle around and see what the CFTC reports to us that day. That'd be really interesting to look at. So, all right. Well, that was kind of fun. And nothing down here, so that's good. Don't have to worry about people feeling that their questions were not being addressed. I suppose the last thing we'll just leave off on is looking at some of these shalt coins. This is, if anything, this is the window that the shalt coin market should do the absolute best. From that July 4th weekend through to probably the Labor Day weekend, this is our summer silly season for crypto. So if you're a crypto fan, now is the time to really focus in on your altcoin shills. You know, I did tweet out along with this chart, and this is the one that we included in the newsletter. I'm perfectly happy trading that, buying at 4,685 there, and looking for 6.25, 6.5 area to take some profits. Perfectly good trade. You can also see this is an inverted head and shoulders. And based on the inverted head and shoulders, we should go from the head back to the neckline and then project that above the neckline. Targets are up here, up around Foggenbaum's 1.272 alt ABCD levels. And notice that's also a mountain man level off of this recent range. Also, too, heard me talk lots about wicks and tails like to be eaten. You've also heard me talk about candle body highs for trade location. If I wanted to short this thing, that looks like a really interesting window right in there. Candle body highs, let these guys get released. 61.8, Foggenbaum 4.669, 1.272, alt AB equals CD, and your inverted head and shoulders objective. Looks like a pretty good level. So take a screenshot of that, all you traders, you fancy yourself fancy schmancies. So this one's, talk about a gift from Brian. I mean, this one's setting up right in front of your face. You want to take a trade? Do you even understand how the bot setup works? If you don't, get your ass into the fucking education program and learn. I'm a big fan of trading setups. Put your opinions away. Your opinions don't mean anything. Trade your setups. You're looking for, and let's say if you guys can remember, what is the word that comes to mind when I see all of these levels all just so happen to correspond around a certain area on the price chart? What do I call that? Excellent, Cole. Nailed it. I mean, this is what you're really looking for, is our job, like if you look at something like a Bitcoin chart right now, my job is not to tell you what the hell's going to happen in the future with Bitcoin. If anything, my job when I look at this is I don't see any setups. I don't know what the fuck this thing's going to do. It's going to go all over the place. The market's going to do whatever the hell it wants. I've given you realistic upside shots. I've given you realistic downside shots. I don't know what the hell is going to happen here. I haven't got a clue, and I don't have any setups. But come over to something like Filecoin. My job as a technician, and this is where technical analysis shines, and this is what you have to learn. I don't know whether you can or not. I see a lot of people on social media, they just don't get this. But, anyway, it is what it is. Our job is to identify, hey, I've seen this before. I know when I see this happen, and this happen, and this happen. And ideally, you want them to be unrelated reasons. Maybe one's like trade location. Maybe another is like, oh, when the indicators all look this way. And then another one is, hey, when price actually acts this way. but you want to have a multitude of reasons that say that when I've seen this happen in the past before, good things ultimately usually happen. Now, nothing's guaranteed in this business. Nothing. What we are statisticians. When I look at this kind of image, I say to myself mentally, I believe that the statistical odds of if this level, what is that, 475, if that is taken out, and I can somehow get long from that 470 area, ideally 468.50, but I don't know whether this number is exactly accurate. Go and pull this up all on your own, do your own due diligence, figure out the exact levels on your own. But if I see that taken out, and I've got one low to work with, and I've got two lows to work with, and I got three lows to work with, then the statistical odds of the market moving up into this confluence of levels is much greater than the odds of it going back down and breaking through these lows. That's my job as a technician. I don't know whether you can learn that or not. It's our pleasure to teach you this setup, and we have another setup, a L Tangonator, that I absolutely love to day trade with. And I think actually, this would be a fun also opportunity for you guys to interact. I'm thinking about going actually and rejoining Top Step and just going through the whole process of their combines again, just for fun. I mean, I don't need the money. I could just trade my own accounts. I've got a $50,000 sitting in an AMP account just picking its nose. But it might be fun just to actually show you all what the process of trying to pass one of these combines looks like and actually getting funded. So give me some feedback in the comments and stuff, whether number one, you'd like to see Brian actually go through a combine publicly. I mean, how many people actually would publicly show themselves going through one of those very stressful kind of demonstrations? And then also too, maybe what we should do is why don't we, because it's only like $50 a month or something like that. It's ridiculous how cheap it is. But why don't we maybe put together like maybe, I don't know, like a dozen of us? Yeah, it would be great. You know how we get a whole group of us all going together. $50. I mean, fuck, that's nothing. Anyway, I'm giving that some thought. So let me know in the comments. Make the algorithm work here for us. Maybe we can get a little bit more public traction about whether you'd like to see Brian just hop in the combine. And no guarantees from the management. If anything, if I actually am worth listening to about all these trading plans and trading setups and stuff like that, well, I mean, we should see it. Either Brian can do what he said he's going to do, or Brian can't do what he said he's going to do, and he's not even really worth listening to. So that might, I think it's about time that we do something along those lines. So anyway, okay, so there's one that's setting up for you. I mean, don't say in the chat here. I want to see it in the comments. I'll tell you what, I will do it if I see 15 people say yes, Brian, I would like to see you do that, and I will join you. And that would be cool if we could have like a dozen people that are all doing it in unison from TRI and TRIers and all that. That would be fucking killer. And it's only like $50 a month. You're not even risking your own money. All right. So anyway, food for thought. And actually, Joshua, I think you said that they have like 14-day trials or something like that. If you put in your email, I think you're watching and listening. And if I remember correctly, I thought you said that. If anything, I should get on that sooner rather than later and get that 14-day trial thing. Chris, do you know what Joshua was talking about when he does his 14-day trial thing? So I just go and grab a brand new email address out of the blue or something. Yeah, okay. All right. So that does exist. So, all right. Maybe I'll do something along those lines just to get things up and running. And as soon as we get 12 people that are all demanding that I do this, did I say 12? Yeah, let's go with 12. Then we'll take the next step forward. And really, all I'm going to do is just show you guys what I show you every single day, right? The good part about it is, I think I've told you guys before that I was going to think about doing a boot camp to sort of train people. How would you set yourself up to actually consider joining Top Step and going and doing this? And really, and I took the opportunity through this spring and early summer to show you what this looks like. What do you got to do on a daily basis? But we got to check in on your health. You got to check in on your computer. You got to check in on your sleep schedule. You got to find out, whether you're mentally in a good place to trade. What's the news? What's driving the market? What are the econs? Have you actually set yourself up for success? Then, I go through the process, what I typically do on a daily basis. And actually, I've even included Bitcoin now, which I didn't do before, but I've added BTC to my matrix. But every morning, I just go through and I look at the 4-hour charts for are we actually at levels. And as you can see, performance is okay. I mean, it's nothing to write home about, but if I did this kind of performance on their combine, I would pass the combine. So anyway, food for thought, and I think I'm going to move towards that. And if anything, if I'm going to do the boot camp, you want to set yourself up as a day trader, it would behoove all of us that not only is Brian actually passed the latest combine, he is funded by, whatever prop firm I would be wanting to send you guys. And maybe I'll even get a kickback from Top Step sending you guys there. I don't know. I don't like those conflict of interest kind of things, so I'm not really going to pursue that too much. But the point of the matter here is we were going to do a boot camp sort of train you. How do you actually set yourself up for success as one proposing to day trade? And that's basically what this is all about. Your demon finders, boot camp folders, and all that. In fact, Rush, one of our longtime members, he actually even had the boot camp. And actually, this is a different one. We might even do like maybe even a boot camp for investors and a boot camp for day traders, maybe simultaneously, or maybe I'll do it like back to back, a week of boot camp for day traders, and then a week for the sort of, live in-person training. But Juju, if you're watching this, I need you to let me know how that property you're looking for is going, because we need a place to do this. And then Andrea, I don't know whether I heard that Andrea is now in Thailand now. But if you're watching this, Andrea, we need to find out whether you're going to be back in Europe for the winter. And are you going to be shacking up with Chris? And can you two be on the ground to actually quarterback things like finding, an Airbnb and stuff to do this? Actually, there's one person who's really good at finding these places. Oh, crap. I just get off and I keep talking away. Okay, so we'll leave that conversation for now. But and actually, we did have a couple people that said they'd be interested in the boot camp. So give it some thought. We'll be thinking about that, maybe doing that this fall. So anyway, okay. I think I covered everything I wanted to cover. Where is that? Here. FOMC is coming up this week. Be careful here, folks. Don't trust anything you hear out of China right now. The goalposts are constantly moving. A lot of funny business going on in crypto right now. Keep in mind that SBF and the FTX shit is still floating out in front of us. And actually, that would make a perfect opportunity for them to dump Bitcoin and to dump crypto into this fall. And that's the buying window that I'm really interested in. Here in the short term, this is the summer silly season. There should be some fun things for us to do in crypto. And Chris had pointed out that we just had an ETH conference, and there was actually some really interesting, cool stuff that came out of that conference that he was super jazzed about. And, we just happen to have on Filecoin, which is a pretty popular name in the space. But, if you want to know who's really hot in the market at any given point in time, well, maybe consider joining TRI, and you get a nice little summary of who's hot and who's not in crypto every single day of the week. So really shouldn't surprise us. Lots of fives still on the screen, which means that they're not bad ideas. They're either trending or they're right down at the bottom of the range and they're trying to trend. But also, too, you can get a good idea of who's leading the charge. So, in our newsletter, Chris had pointed out there was some pretty positive news coming out of people like Link at that Ethereum conference. And what a big surprise. Link is doing very well. The only problem is you can't buy Link now, right? Everybody knows you can see exactly where you were supposed to be a buyer right there. So way up top here, I wouldn't touch it. That's kind of asking for trouble. So. Okay, I think I'll leave the rant at that. I hope you guys got some good value out of the broadcast here today. If you could all just take a moment and say a positive karmic wish for Liam and I. I am off to give him the absolute best afternoon I possibly can. When I've just noticed that when I ask all of you to give Liam some best wishes and karmic kisses and stuff, he seems to it works. It actually works. So positive thoughts for Liam this afternoon. And anytime you can think about Liam, poor little guy, he lives such a fucking tough life. And maybe a positive karmic wish for Brian that he can be the best dad possible and keep his chin up and keep focusing on trying to make a positive difference in this world, because that's what this is all about, right? All right. Have a great day. PMA for the win. All the best. Consider joining the site. Consider joining the education program if you need to get your skirt together. Consider joining the site's awesome dashboard and signaling system if you want to be kept abreast of what's hot and what's not, and what's moving and what's a buy signal and all that kind of fun stuff too. All right, all the best, and bye.